and then hopefully you'll join us. Thank you.
Thank you.
That last guy. So I'll call to order this meeting, June 30th, 2022, 1:02 p.m. And let me start with the statement I'm required to read. This meeting is being held pursuant to and in compliance with ordinance number 20A6. The members that are electronically present, that's myself, Anthony Arsali, David Farrell, Bob Beard, Lucky Wynn, and Evan Mayo. And Karen Pape is not here with us today. The public has the opportunity to access and participate in the electronic meeting through phone, computer, or tablet. Directions on how to connect are located in the Albemarle County website. The failure to state these items neither makes the electronic meeting illegal nor invalidates any action taken at the meeting. We have a quorum. We have 5 of our 6 members present. Before we begin the hearings, has everyone had a chance to review the minutes for June 28th? Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes with the one change. Thank you, Bob.
What was that change?
Karen Pape's name was spelled wrong on page 4.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Bob
Bob,
Beard.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, perfect. Minutes are approved. So let's move on to the hearings. Do we want to go ahead and bring the applicant on? Mr. Williams, if you can turn on your camera, and you are on mute. Okay. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Welcome. We're the Board of Equalization. Our board is comprised of 6 citizens of Albemarle County. We're all appointed by the Board of Supervisors. We're an independent board, and we will be hearing the applications today. Here's how the hearing will work. You will be provided with 20 minutes to present your case. The assessor will have 20 minutes to present theirs, and then you'll be provided another 5 minutes for rebuttal. Just one note that per Virginia law, there is a presumption of correctness, so the burden of proof is on the applicant. Also, before we begin, we only have just the application. There's nothing, no support, nothing else there other than there's really nothing with any of these applications. So just want to make sure we're not missing anything. There's if there's any documents you submitted to the assessor that we're not aware of.
No, correct. There no documents were submitted other than the application to appeal, right?
Okay. And do you have any questions before we start?
No.
Okay, so let's go ahead and swear in the witnesses. So whoever is wishing to testify, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony, both oral and documentary, which you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you. So let's start with the applicant then. I think you have limited materials to kind of go over, but go ahead and
right. Yeah. And what is, I guess, publicly known is that the mall is in a time of transition. That's obvious. But the question before us all today is, what would be a fair assessment? To that, we're not really in position to submit evidence, one way or another. I see the way the assessor, we took over management not long ago, so we're here sort of as a fiduciary responsibility to maintain the rights to appeal. But that's all that really I can testify to today. The fact that the property is in transition, the value may or may not be different than what the assessor has. Candidly, I guess we'll find out. I do note what the assessor has done over the last couple of years, and it seems to be that the board and the assessor have responded in responsible and fair ways, up till this year. So that would be a summary, I think, of what I would say, and answer any questions or whatever happens next.
All right, thank you. And what I did not do is to state what applications. What I think we will do, because they are all related properties and all contiguous, I'm going to go ahead and this is going to be the hearing for all four. If there's no objection from anybody else on the board, I'll go ahead and state all the different applications and the addresses, and we'll address them all together. And I'm assuming that your statement was the same with respect to all four of the parcels.
Correct.
Okay, so the applications at issue right now are application number 20, application number 24, application number 25, and application number 26. The property owners for all four are the Charlottesville JP 2014 -C21 LLC, and the property addresses are 1636 Rio Road East, 1606 Rio Road East, 1531 Rio Road East, and 1648 Rio Road East. Those are the four parcels at issue. So if the applicant doesn't have anything further at this time, I will turn it over to the assessor to make their case or make the presentation. I do want to note, I'm assuming, and given kind of what the circumstances are here, I'm assuming all my fellow board members have reviewed all the materials, and Mr. Lynch, you're well aware of how we do this, but you don't have to go through every detail. If you want to give us a summary, is I think perfectly fine.
Thank you, Mr. Arsani. That's what I had hoped to do. And I had also hoped to be able to just talk about it all as one thing. So overall, and we do know that this property is under transition, and I think probably the owner is still trying to figure out what that transition is going to be, because there are multiple properties involved here. The only one that I would kind of separate from the others is the Red Lobster. It's an out parcel. It sits out on Rio Road. It's not as dependent upon the rest of the mall properties to exist. So that one, I kind of feel that it could stand on its own, and that obviously the way we've assessed it is just like every other restaurant in the county that's a single parcel, a single building with that use. The other properties, we are already greatly reducing. Normally in my write-up, I include the current and 2 previous years in the history of the assessment, but for this one, I actually included 6 total years, because I wanted the board to see just how drastically the value has been, the assessment has been reduced over the last 6 years. And just referring to the mall proper, the main mall parcel, it's dropped from over $60 million in value, which at that time was very well supported by the information, the operations that were going on. And then things started changing in those years in between then and now. And we have drastically changed that value. It came down to 46 million in 2020. And it dropped more drastically down to 16 million for that parcel in 2021, which is the same value we have this year. So we feel that, yes, this property is in transition, but however, we have addressed that sufficiently in our current assessment. So we're not being unresponsive to the situation. It's just kind of my point I wanted to make. We have determined that value through an income approach on the main parcel that includes a lot of a cap rate that's very high, that includes a lot of risk. It includes vacancy that is high, and I believe it represents an appropriate reduction in value for that parcel. For the other 2 parcels, the Belk is still operational. It is reduced greatly from where it would be if there wasn't any external feature, external influences that are negative on this property. And the Sears, which is not in operation, the building is being carried at $1,000. So it's just a token value for the improvements. So the majority of the value in our assessment is the land value. We are not in agreement with, based on the applicant's applications, with what that land value is. We are around 21 million, just over 21 million in land value. This is this area, Route 29 is one of the most valuable areas in Albemarle County for commercial land, and this is prime real estate. So we believe that we are well justified in our land values. The improvement values based on the different portions are reflective of, you know, current activity that's going on there now. Our overall value of 30 million for these 4 parcels, just over $30 million, is justified. But I just want to remind the board that this property is subject to a land lease. So there's an underlying ownership of the land and a separate ownership of the improvements and the operations. So the property did transfer for $20 million at auction, which is the ultimate situation of being under duress. So that's not a market, what would be considered a market condition sale, but it is a representation also just that leasehold part of the property and not the fee simple, because it doesn't include, they weren't purchasing the underlying ownership of the parcel. So they don't have the full bundle of rights. So again, I think there's no support in any of this information for a reduction in our assessments. And that there's a lot more detail, but basically those are just the kind of the highlights or summary that I wanted to present. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lynch. Any questions from the board for the assessor? Any questions to the applicant? Mr. Williams, do you have any? Bob?
Yeah, hi. For Mr. Williams, I'm just wondering. You talk about the property is in transition. What specifically do you mean by that? I mean, is the mall going to be torn down? That kind of thing. Can you tell us anything?
Sure. In kind of general terms, when you have one of the challenges of an enclosed mall is that the costs of common area, you know, HVAC, cleaning, all the rest of it, that creates an operating cost that's very high. And that's where great malls do very well because they command great rent that cover that. But then when a mall like this one, when the affordable rents, what tenants can afford to pay, declines, it ends up being lower than the cost to actually keep it open. So going forward, most likely a new owner will have to demolish some or all of that enclosed portion of the mall. What that will look like, that's a big conversation and certainly beyond this, you know, our scope here. But to answer your question, that's what I mean by transition from enclosed mall to something else.
David?
Yeah, Mr. Williams, just double checking my numbers. You have the land in total at about 6.3 million, is that right? For the 12.5 acres, is that what you have? Is that about right?
Yeah.
2.7, 3.7, 4.5, 5.2, 6. All right, so you have it at about 6.3 million for 12.5 acres, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say that that's likely what's on the application. There, you know, there are other factors. Basically, what that was trying to look at. Okay, given the unique circumstance of the property. But I don't take issue with anything the assessor actually said.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
For clarification, David, it's 37 acres, a little over 37 acres. All four parcels combined.
I was just looking that up because
I
it's,
was just, all right, I had, all right. 37 acres, sorry.
37 acres. Mr. Williams, did you have anything else you wanted to add for your rebuttal?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Other than, I guess the rebuttal is that I follow the logic that the assessor made and don't disagree strongly with it. It's a unique situation and a unique property.
All right. Anyone else have any questions? Okay, Mr. Williams, well, we thank you for your time today. We're going to deliberate and we'll mail a decision out in the next 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, anybody want to discuss?
So this is a point of order, I guess. You know, he was plainly an authorized representative. They've got to fill out that authorized representative letter for him to come and represent the owner, right? And one of the things that has to be selected, there's a checkbox as to whether or not he's going to offer an opinion of value. And it looks like he also signed the initial appeal that gives an opinion of value. And I wondered if a more longer tenured member of the board could help me understand, like, what is the significance of asking that? Do we block them from providing an opinion of value if they check no, or does anyone know?
I don't know if anyone's ever checked no, but I think it's gonna, unless they're doing, I guess they might provide an opinion as to condition, not value. It's just not opinion. I mean, just even evidence, but I guess that goes to the assessor. Pete, do you have any? It's not something that's really come up. So.
No,
I don't.
Okay. I guess there's just a question in my mind is whether we're allowed to consider that if he indicated he's not offering an opinion of value.
I'm not, I mean, I think even if we give him the benefit of the doubt and allow him to do so, even though he said no, I don't know if it makes any difference whatsoever in this case.
Yeah, it wasn't a terribly confident presentation.
And nor could it be. I mean, that's the thing. Like, there's not really much justification. I think the property's being, my personal opinion is, I think the property is being undervalued by the assessor's office with respect to land value. At 37 acres, I think it's worth more than $30 million potentially in that location. And knowing in terms of the sale, like you said, the foreclosure, the second highest bidder was a ready and able bidder. He's the owner of the JCPenney. He went up to 20,200,000 it was for the leasehold rights. So that was just a ground lease, and I think it was, I don't remember the terms, but it's not an indefinite ground lease, and there are, I don't know, I don't recall what the terms were, but I'm not sure if I'm allowed to disclose those terms, but anyways, but in any event, without even using that information, just the fact of the land value and just the fact that knowing it was a land lease and knowing that the bid went up to that high and the bank still took it back for whatever reason, the valuation is more than fair. But I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts, please feel free to chime in.
I mean, if we're just charged to make a decision based on, I mean, if the assessor is assumed to be correct and he's supposed to dissuade us, I mean, he didn't present anything or really do anything. So I don't see anything other than to affirm all four of these.
Yeah. Okay, do we have a motion? I think we can make a motion as to all four.
Make a motion. Okay, I make a motion to affirm application number 20, number 25, number 24, and number 26. Make a motion to affirm the assessor's assessment.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so
All right.
that'll carry for all four.
That's for all four, yeah.
And Evan, that was you.
Excuse me?
You
Yes, I
seconded.
seconded.
Sorry, thanks.
All right, so I think that's all we have until July 19th. So do
Wow.
we, any other points we need to discuss between now and then? No, okay, let's, we have a motion to adjourn.
I make the motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, see you all next month.
122.
And let's stop the recording.